Hello everybody, Chef Bravo here doing another cooking demo for you. Today I'm going to be doing my coconut bites here. You can see a little photo of that out of my Bravo Express book. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera around for you. And then we'll be set up here at the table. There we go. So I'll just pull that up for the front a little bit. Okay, so we are going to get this going. So here in the pot, here I'll show you. I'll tilt it so you can see it. I have my mango here, diced mango. And then in goes, so this is about 2 cups of mango, 1 cup of pineapple juice, and then I'm going to cut up a couple of bananas really quick for you. There we go, I'll leave this in a little bit. So a couple of bananas. To the pot here. Got 1 slice that got away, but that's okay. And then, if I'm not mistaken, the recipe calls for either a whole vanilla bean or 1 teaspoon, let's see, or 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. So we're gonna go ahead and say that is 1 teaspoon. So, this is a really good recipe if you're trying to entertain, sort of a fun hors d'oeuvre type of thing. So I'll put this here where you can see it. And basically what I want to do is just cook the fruit until it softens up. You'll notice the bananas begin to get a little bit translucent kind of a thing, as opposed to this solid, creamy, whitish yellow color. The mangoes will begin to get softened up, and the juice will start to steam up and just get really nice and soft. So this will take about 5-ish minutes, and then I'll show you this in just a little bit when it's ready to go. So give me about 5 minutes, and then we'll get back to it. In the meantime, I will show you what I have. Once we are ready to do these, I have this little scoop. It's essentially a little ice cream scoop, and in the little blade here that sort of spins as you squeeze the trigger, usually those in there have a number, and the number means that it's sort of the size of the spoon. So this is a size 40, and what that means is that 40 of these will make up a quart. So the bigger the number, the smaller the scoop. You'll see some of these that will say 8 or 10, and those are your big scoops that you see out there. And then they go up down to like 50, 60 kind of a thing. So that's what I have here. This I'm going to use. It works really well because this will give you a perfect measurement for every single of these bites. So they're all uniform, they're all the same. People are not sort of fighting over who's getting the bigger piece kind of a thing. So these are really good to have. And then in a little bit, once this is cooked, you'll see that this has started to simmer, and the fruit is starting to get softened up. We're going to take this, and this is going to be the binder for the mixture. So we're going to take this, I put it in the food processor. Aside from what I'm going to use to bind the mixture, I also had a little bit set aside. And this week here at True North where I work, we made a whole bunch of these. So we had some extra of this. I'll show you what this is. This is essentially, we took some of this coconut and we stuck it in a pan, like a cookie tray kind of a thing, and then we put it in the oven at 350 degrees. Not very long. Coconut will get toasty very quickly. So this was in there for about probably about 3 to 5 minutes. And that was because we did a big tray. So the smaller you do, you could probably do that in like a couple of minutes. So you see the difference between raw and then toasted. Okay. So the toasted coconut is what we're going to use, what I'm going to use here to roll up these those little balls. So now, this essentially, all I'm trying to do is to soften up the fruit and to just allow all the flavors to sort of come together again with the vanilla and the mango and the banana in there. If you wanted to do a little twist on this, you could squeeze just a little bit of lemon in there, or maybe just a little lemon zest, just to give you a little bit of contrast between what is going to be a fairly sweet sort of thing, and just to give it just a tiny little bit of backdrop. Okay, so I'm simmering this, as you can see, fairly rapidly. So this is more of a simmer. This is actually a boil. The reason I'm doing that is because I'm trying to speed up the video. Normally I would do this more of a gentle simmer kind of a thing. So this is on high just to make this go along. But normally I would do this on medium just because I have the danger right now of this sort of splashing everywhere. And because there's some natural sugars in there with the fruit and the fruit juice, it tends to sort of run a little bit hotter. So plain water boils at 212, but if you add sugar to that water, it actually boils at a higher temperature, especially as the water starts to evaporate. So sugary water actually will burn you. That's what I'm trying to get at. If it splashes you, it'll burn you worse than it was if it was just a little bit of splash of boiling water. So I am willing to take that risk a little bit for the sake of this video, but I'm actually content to what this guy looks like. You can see the bananas are starting to sort of break apart, break down. So that's about the right amount. So I am going to set this off to the side. And I'm going to bring in the food processor here. And I'm going to set it up correctly. I am now also going to get my gloves on to get ready for this. All right. So normally what you want to do is allow this to cool down to like a room temp. But for the sake of video, I'm going to go ahead and add them all to the food processor. Okay, now I'm going to start with about half of this, half to 3/4, just to sort of get a sense of where I'm at here. So go ahead, sort of pulse that. The reason I don't add it all at once is because mangoes are not always going to have the same amount of moisture in them. Depending on how ripe they are, they might be a little bit wetter, sort of. The less ripe they are, they're going to be firmer, less moisture in them. So the amount of moisture in the mix here affects how much coconut you actually need. So as you can see, I am in a very sort of soft type of situation here. So I'm going to go ahead and add some more. And I'm going to end up adding all of it. So you'll end up with this sort of, I don't know how to call this, puree-like. Now, ideally, again, you want to let it cool down to room temp. It's a little bit sort of a soft puree type of thing, but if you allow this to cool down, it will get a little bit firmer on you. So it'll be sort of a stiff puree. Okay, and then I just wanted to make sure that I got the sides. This is exactly where I want it to be. Other than it's a little bit hotter than what I'm used to working with, but it'll be fine. So now I have my, see here, I'm gonna get a plate so we can plate these up real quick. So you'll see what they look like. Give me 1 second. Okay, we got ourselves a plate here. And I think I'm gonna just check the camera to see if I got a good view of this. Nope. That's all right. We're gonna go like this. I think the camera gets everything. Oh yeah, that's perfect. Okay. So now, this is ideally done more of on a tray, but because I'm only doing a couple of this, it'll be simple enough, but I got just a small amount. Usually for a larger production, what we do is we put all this in a large pan, sort of like this, what I brought all my ingredients in. So if you can imagine a large pan full of that toasted coconut, and as we throw the scoops in here, we're able to roll them up a little bit better. But if you're just doing a cooking demo and you're only doing a couple, we can just take the scoop and then I run it against the side of the food processor here, just to make sure it's nice and flat. Again, the idea is to make sure that all of these are the same size. And then I go ahead and scoop it right onto the thing here. And then, so we'll do a couple here at a time. Again, this might look a little bit too soft, but you want to let the mixture cool down to room temp first. But because I work with these often enough, I can do this with a little bit more practice. So here we go, sort of a round shape here. When the mixture is cold, you're actually able to roll it up in your hands to make a really nice ball. Do a couple more. If you're curious about how long this will last, if you make the mixture here, it probably lasts you a good 7 to 10 days in the fridge. There is really not a whole lot in here that necessarily will go bad. The one thing you do want to watch out for would be more of the toasted coconut. You don't want to keep it too long. So say you made a batch today, and then like 3 weeks later, you're like, oh, I still have some of that. Let me make another batch. The toasted coconut might actually get a little bit rancid on you, so you don't want to prep this part too far ahead, so to speak. All right. And so, as you can see, these are extremely simple to make. It's basically cook the mixture, toast the coconut, allow it to cool down, put it all in the food processor, and then just try to play with it. Make little balls. And then serve them. And as you can see, there we go, that's probably enough. And as you can see, this works really well as a, sort of after dinner, instead of making this big elaborate dessert, you just make this little sort of truffle size, small bites kind of a thing where everybody gets one or two, and they're like, oh man, that was just a perfect ending. So that's about it. It's really that simple. As most of the recipes from my Bravo Express cookbook, they're just a few ingredients, a couple steps, very, very simple. You don't need to be a seasoned or a well-trained chef to put together a nice treat. So I hope you enjoy that. Please hit the subscribe button and take care. Thank you.